We see trauma adversely affecting students in the classroom in a couple of ways. The biggest we see is behavior, and that's internalized behaviors as well as externalized behaviors. I think a lot of times when people think of trauma affecting students, they think of those externalizing behaviors. It's important to also keep in mind that there are students who are internalizing their trauma, and they may not be forming connections with adults or other children in the school. So lack of connection to adults or students would be another way that it adversely affects. And unfortunately, when students are not connected, oftentimes we see low academic performance as well.
There's a whole range of things that we see in the classroom, and it really depends on the student. And again, their exposure, level of exposure, the types of supports that they've received. But, there's 3 areas in particular we really notice, and that is in, self-regulation and behavioral skills. And that certainly impacts students when it comes to social emotional learning and connections, and ultimately impacts their ability to be successful academically.
One of the most important things that we've learned over time with research and studies is that trauma can, severe and long-term trauma can really impact brain development. It can really actually change the chemistry and the structure of the brain. So there's been studies that looked at, the fact that severe trauma can really reduce the size of the hippocampus, decrease the size of the prefrontal cortex, decrease the corpus callosum size. So there's literally changes to the structure of the brain.
When I really teach kids about their bodies and understanding that, I'm very enamored with Dr. Siegel's brain model, and we do the upstairs, downstairs brain. So the upstairs brain, often called by teachers in my background, the thinking cap, and the downstairs brain being the emotional brain. And so what happens is when stress hits, this is anybody, you flip your lid, you have less ability to problem solve, focus and pay attention, have empathy, and you're in your emotional brain. So then when we imagine kids with trauma and behavior, what's happening is they're flipping their lids faster than other kids. So me as an adult, I'm trying to get them to problem solve why it's not a great idea to flip the table right now, or to hit the other child, or to skip class and smoke, or to, skip school completely. And that is a upstairs brain function. And a lot of times if the kid's in their downstairs brain, the only behavior they have access to down here is fight the threat, run from the threat, or stay very still until the threat is gone. And that is what you will often see as a fight, flight, freeze behavior. So a fight behavior might look like talking back. It might look like getting in your face. It might look like posturing. A flight behavior might look like total silence and retreating somewhere in their brain. It might look like literally leaving a classroom. Like I'll watch kids go to the bathroom just over and over and over again. And me as a behavioral health person is like, they are checked out. The teacher though feels like they're just going to vape. Could both be true, by the way, but that is a misunderstanding of that it's a flight behavior or fight behavior. And the last one is freeze. And these kids, I think we miss a lot because they're just silently sitting there and we think, oh, okay, they're not a behavior problem. They're just silently sitting there. So I think the big piece I would say after saying all of that is to really know what part of the brain your student is in. Are they in their downstairs brain where it's fight, flight, or freeze? Or are they in their upstairs brain where they can problem solve and empathize and pay attention? If they're in their downstairs brain, there's only one intervention that works, and that's connection.
You have decreased volume in the prefrontal cortex that can impact the executive functioning skills such as reasoning and planning and decision making. the hippocampus is related to memory, so that can impact your memory. The ability to focus and pay attention, the arousal level. So, you may, from the impact of trauma, there may be less ability to you may be either hyper aroused or hypo aroused or under aroused. There's lots of different ways that the impact of trauma can really change the development of the brain and reduce the cognitive skills that a student may have to engage in learning. Like, as I mentioned, whether it's memory or attention or planning and organizing and reasoning.
The prefrontal cortex, the executive functions, are involved in the ability to focus attention and to modulate attention. So, for example, you're doing a long division problem, you have to be able to pay attention to each step and then go back. So you're monitoring your attention over a series of tasks. Also involved in this is working memory, to be able to remember, well, what was I doing a minute ago when I was doing this part of the problem? And goal setting and planning. Okay, the next step in this series of tasks. So those are all critical to lots and lots of academic learning.
Whether it's homelessness, significant illness, everything these kids are bringing in. So when you have trauma and adverse childhood experiences, it's hard to be present. You may be physically present, you may be sitting in the classroom and your attendance is checked for the day, but are you mentally there? Are you mentally prepared to learn long division that day? Or are you thinking of, what is my health? What's my mom's health? Am I safe right now? It's hard to be present and to be actively engaged with learning when you're worried about your safety and how you're going to survive.